there's plenty that we can say about the monarchy that's bad. You don't have to make up anything about them, okay? Hi friends, my name is Antoinette Chanel and welcome back to my channel. There's been a lot of changes, as you can probably tell. The setting has changed, the hair has changed. I am very grateful to those of you who keep rocking with me as I still try to figure out what I'm doing with this YouTube channel. But I'm actually here today to provide a follow-up on a video that I did last year where I did a review of Prince Harry's book, Spare. I mainly wanted to make this follow-up because I noticed that there were points in the video that I have more to say about now as I've found out more things about Harry and the royals and Megxit and the things that have happened afterwards. But I also wanted to make this video to send a message to all of my viewers and viewers of the YouTube community in general about what's happening with perception in the media and how we are being manipulated to believe certain things and to act in certain ways, and how dangerous that is right now. I am located in the United States and it is currently October of 2024, which means that we will soon be voting in another presidential election. And regardless of what your views are, what you believe, you should be interested in the truth, and finding the truth has become so difficult in today's media landscape. And grifters like Harry and Meghan don't help the situation. So that's what I plan to address with this video today. So buckle up, grab a snack, and let's first recap my review of Spare from February of 2023. So my Spare review, I put that up in February 2023. I mainly listened to the book because I wanted to get in on the hype and find out what is actually in this book. And I still stand by the claims that I made in my original video. I believe that parts 1 and 2 of Spare were a great listen. It's just unfortunate that they had to be a part of the book with part 3, because part 3 really just tanks the whole thing. And the overall messaging that Harry was going for with that book also is a big fat fail. But I did find value in learning about the autobiographical details of Harry's life, what he was feeling and experiencing as we, the public, were watching him going through that difficult transition of losing his mother in the late 90s. It's also worth noting that the paperback edition of Spare is supposed to hit markets on October 22nd, 2024. Personally, I think that releasing a paperback of Spare is a really big misstep. It already was a huge firestorm for H&M when it came out. But I've also heard that they are contractually obligated to release a certain number of books. I think it's 4. So they've got the paperback of Spare, and then I think 1 more is supposed to come out as part of that deal. I'll definitely be checking out that last book too, and possibly doing a review of that on this channel. So one of the biggest things to note about public perception of Harry and Meghan now in 2024 since Spare is that their perception has plummeted drastically. Their popularity has been on the downturn for years now. It was already kind of declining when Spare came out. I think that the pair thought that Spare was going to be a PR boost for them, and it wasn't. It was a PR nightmare for them. Followed by the fact that lots of people started to do comparisons between Harry and William after the release of Spare. And I think this is natural simply because he made some digs at his brother in the book, and you know, that caused people to do a lot of comparing of these two brothers as a result. And what people are finding is that, gosh, Harry does a lot of complaining. He goes after the press in court. He says very outlandish things in interviews about what sorts of threats have been created against he and his family, his wife and his children, as a result of the dishonest press. But we don't really hear William saying much of anything about that. If anything, William went to court, he got his settlement for the phone hacking scandal, he donated that money afterwards, and we really don't hear him complaining or droning on and on about the press, the unfair treatment, anything really. I don't think I ever hear William complaining about anything. The only time I've ever really seen or heard him complain was when he caught paparazzi who were staked out outside of his home, I think, and they were taking pictures of his children.
I know, I just realised who it was, and I've just...
You did go out here looking for us.
I was actually...
You drove past us outside our house, I saw you.
No, I didn't, I haven't been near the house. I've not been, I promise you, I've not been near your house. I've not been away.
Yes, you are. How dare you behave like you've done my children? How dare you?
I have not
You're
done
stalking
anything.
around here looking for us and our children. I went for a quiet bike ride with my children on
That's fine,
Saturday.
that's fine.
And you've only given me your name. You're outrageous. You're disgusting. You really are. How dare you behave like that? I didn't know you were going down here.
I didn't know you were coming down here, did I?
So where have you come from?
I just walked up from West Newton.
So why are you here? Yeah, I need you here, Murph. I've had an altercation with a photographer. He's filming me as I'm right next to him now. I'm coming down the, Thank you for ruining our day.
I moved out of the way so you could get past. I think I saw you. I moved into the tower.
What you guys have learned by now.
Which, I mean, if you're gonna stake out by my house and take pictures of my kids, I'm gonna probably have some choice words for you too, so I can understand that. As of late, Prince William and Catherine have both been preoccupied with the fact that Catherine has been diagnosed with cancer. She's been doing ongoing cancer treatment, and the pair have been working to make sure that they address Catherine's health while also keeping the children as informed as they need to be, but not freaking them out. King Charles also has been diagnosed with cancer and has been going through treatment, so they've just been busy. William doesn't have time to sit and be petty and complain about stuff or go to court for petty lawsuits. It's also been revealed through research that Harry joined Sunshine Sachs, the PR firm, even before he was married to Meghan. So while he is talking about how freedom of speech is bonkers here in the United States, and how the paparazzi is just dishonest and rude, and how they threaten his life and his wife and his children's lives, and how the press makes things so unsafe for he and his family that they can't even live in the UK. Meanwhile, the man hires a PR firm that their job is to make sure that he gets his name into the papers and that he is visible. You know, as I look back at Spare and my review of it, it's really unfortunate that Harry couldn't just stay the person that he was in part 2 of Spare, which was somebody who understood his place in this world, understood his place within his family, and was accepting of it, just trying to figure out, well, where do I fit in now? I believe that that was his mindset until he met Meghan, truthfully. It wasn't until Meghan came along that all of a sudden he started to question the very old tradition and fixture of the monarchy that he had been raised in, that he had known and supported and understood up until that point in his life. There were also comments that the pair were making when they first started doing royal engagements about modernization and about bringing the monarchy into the modern world and fresh perspectives and things like that. It's funny, not everything that Harry and Meghan were espousing and trying to do was totally off base. If they would have just calibrated, tweaked some things a little bit, and maybe had a healthy dose of self-awareness, I think this could have gone a lot better for them. But as we see, that's not the case. It's been near catastrophic. Since the release of Spare, we've also found out about lots of injustices, human rights injustices happening at the African parks, which I make mention of because Harry devotes a significant chunk of part 2 of Spare to talking about his time in Africa and how much the continent of Africa means to him and the work that he did there, how important that is to him. He spoke about that quite a bit in Spare. And so naturally, a lot of people would like to know, well, how come you're not doing anything about these reported injustices that are happening at the Africa parks for which you sat on the board until recently? In my review, I talk about how part 3 of Spare is a drop-off, how it's just drastically different. It sounds like it was written by either another author or it was written for a different book altogether. And it's funny, part 3 was a foreshadowing of everything that we would see from Harry and Meghan after Spare. So in part 3 of Spare, it seemed like there was a lot of very careful crafting and engineering to make it seem as though Harry and Meghan are this wonderful love story that just, you know, just sort of formed out of the blue and then just, they got caught up in each other. And that Meghan is this just angelic, Diana-like figure who people need to see as this woman of inspiration and awe. And Harry and Meghan's messaging right after Megxit was also very much about anti-racism. They were fighting racism within the monarchy. In fact, they were even awarded for combating racism in the monarchy. I forgot about that. Jeez. That's one of my biggest gripes with them, is that they've been awarded as being crusaders against racism, yet I don't really see them doing any racial work. In fact, most of the messaging that we're hearing in their work that they've been doing lately has been about online bullying and protecting the cyberspace. And I think that that mainly recaps the stuff that I went through in the spare review. Oh no, one other point. I said in my spare review that Harry created the Invictus Games. Harry didn't create the Invictus Games. He definitely headed up the Invictus Games after they were created, but they were not created by Harry. I've actually read that they were created by William. William was the one who made the initial donation to get the Invictus Games started.
Okay, so I have to call myself out a little bit because I botched that. Basically, it was founded through the Royal Foundation that Harry and Catherine and William were all on together, and Harry is heading it up. But I guess my point is that he didn't just out of the blue decide that he was going to take some of his money and create this organization. This was something that was created out of the foundation that he worked on with his brother and his sister-in-law.
So since 2023, obviously public perception of these two has plummeted. We don't really like them that much. People ain't feeling Harry and Meghan. They don't have as much sympathy for Harry and Meghan as they used to. And there's been quite a few stories that have helped to shape that perception. So, and I gotta look at my notes for this because it's quite a bit. So in May 2023, I believe, there was the near catastrophic car chase through New York City. Also, there was questionable foreign PR tours. We got those in 2024 where they went to, what is it, Chile, Colombia. I gotta look it up again, but they've gone on questionable PR tours. There was a Dutch translator who was scapegoated for loading a book with claims of a royal racist. So the name of one of the royals was put into a book called Endgame, and this was supposed to be pointing out who this royal racist person was, who was questioning how dark Archie's skin was going to be when Meghan was pregnant with him. Remember, that's what she told us on the Oprah interview. Let's see. Oh, Meghan also launched a lifestyle brand. You can sign up and join the mailing list for the lifestyle brand, but there are no products available for purchase. However, she sent products out to several celebrities. I don't know if these were her friends or just people who she paid, but apparently she wants to sell jam and maybe some dog biscuits. They have done 2 televised interviews recently, one with ITV that I can't seem to access here in the United States. I know I could probably get to it with my VPN. My VPN's acting up and I don't really care to sit and troubleshoot that just so that I can watch a Harry interview. But he did do an interview with ITV that's only available in the UK, despite it being promoted here in the United States, because I saw commercials for that ITV interview before it aired. The second one that they did was with CBS Sunday Mornings, and this was where they met with parents of children who had died by unaliving. That was connected to online bullying or some sort of internet correspondence of some sort. And that's really awkward to explain, but not all of the parents who were on that CBS Sunday Morning interview were there for the same reasons. There were some people who were there because their children had been bullied online, and then that led them to unaliving. There was also a set of parents who were there because their son had purchased an illegal substance off the internet that he then overdosed on and died. So while there are definitely threats on the internet for young people, not all of the parents who were in the CBS Sunday Morning interview were there for all of the same reasons, and I think it's important to distinguish that. The more disgusting part is that Harry and Meghan rounded up all of these grieving parents for their own gain. The CBS Sunday Morning interview was supposed to be the announcement of the launch of the Parents Network, which is a platform for all of these grieving parents and families and loved ones to be able to connect and also discuss some of the strategies and methods that can be used for preventing tragedies like those in the future. But what's interesting is that the Parents Network was not an idea that Harry and Meghan came up with originally. They did not create the Parents Network. The Parents Network existed already prior to the CBS Sunday Morning interview. And so all in all, we just see Harry and Meghan going to a lot of very expensive lengths, a lot of very elaborate lengths to try to prove to us, the public, that one, they are relatable and that they care about real issues. Two, that they understand the plight facing young people who have mental health concerns, or even that they understand what mental health concerns mean in the first place. And three, they've been working really hard to try to prove to us that they have an important place in this world, that they need to go around to these foreign countries, talk with all of these leaders, that they have important work to do. But I have yet to see any real positive impact as a result of what these two have been doing. I just see a lot of global gallivanting and expensive clothing, and the two of them looking more unhappy than ever. I mentioned in my last video that I am an author. I used to publish books, but I am a ghostwriter as well as an editor, a freelancer. I do all of that stuff, working with words. And the way that I got to this was that I studied journalism in school. So I was very enthusiastic about news reporting, about the sharing of information, and about making sure that that information is shared truthfully so that people can form their own conclusions or take actions based off of just the facts that are placed in front of them. My aspirations got derailed after the reputation of the New York Times plummeted in 2006 surrounding the Valerie Plame scandal. And if you're interested, go look that one up. It's connected to 9/11, the war on terror, all of that fun stuff. So I took my writing skill and did other things with it. But what has always remained is my passion for media literacy, for applying critical thinking to how we consume of news media and the stories that they often will curate and serve up to us as the unsuspecting public. And there are lots of channels on YouTube that cover Harry and Meghan quite well. They cover everything from all of their missteps, them embarrassing themselves in public with the things that they say, all of the ridiculous word salad that Meghan uses every time she puts a microphone up to her mouth, all of the false promises and lack of follow through when it comes to all of these great things that they were going to do that we have yet to see come to fruition. There are channels that cover Meghan's fashion. Those are some of my favorites. I love learning about fashion through hearing you guys critique some of it. So it's great. But I haven't really seen as many channels covering this whole media angle because, truth be told, Meghan and Harry are communicating a really important message to their supporters as well. And I'll get to that as we get further into this video. For starters, Meghan wants us to see her in a very particular way. And this was something that I did not get hip to until probably 2 years ago, when I really noticed how carefully curated everything around these two seems to be. You know, an Oprah interview is something that I would expect to be curated because it's Oprah. Stephen Colbert, Tom Bradby, you know, I would expect some curation out of those because of the platforms and the people who are hosting them. And you know, cards on the table, I curate my image too. I'm not gonna sit here and act like I post every single image of myself to social media. No. I made myself up so that I could do this video for y'all today. You think I just posted this as soon as I rolled out of bed, just started rolling with a camera? No, I wanted y'all to see me looking nice. But with Meghan, it sort of seems like the leaps that she wants us to make and how we perceive her, what we think of her, are just like too big for humanly possible. So she claimed that she didn't know who the royals were prior to meeting Harry. Never Googled them, never knew anything about the UK, never heard anything in 1997 about Diana. Come on now, we know that's a lie, and that's also been debunked by a picture of her in front of the palace. Next, she claims in the Oprah interview especially that she had tried so hard to fit in and to be the best royal that she could possibly be. Now, I recognize that the Oprah interview is hard to access. It's been scrubbed from the internet, but my girl Beebs Kelly has done an excellent, I think it's a 5-part series breaking down that entire interview with a transcript of what was said and some footage to show you what was happening non-verbally as Meghan was giving some of her answers to Oprah. But again, the fact that the Oprah interview has been pulled means that in and of itself it was supposed to function, it was supposed to have a specific purpose, and I think that that was to shed a sympathetic and angelic light onto Harry and Meghan, and to, you know, maybe boost Oprah a little bit too, because, oh, look, she found the royal racist story. But it didn't. It didn't play out well. It didn't get received well, and that's the reason why we don't see it anymore. It's an embarrassment to Oprah's brand, and I think that legally, Harry and Meghan recognize that it's probably a good idea that they not let that video just float freely on the internet, because the things that they were saying in that interview were reckless. Such as Meghan claiming that Catherine was the one who made her cry, claiming that there was speculation about how dark Archie's skin would be, but that this was in a very racially ignorant type of tone. It's my video, so I'm just gonna throw this in here again. I am a mother to 2 biracial children. Both sides of mine and my husband's family speculated about what our kids would look like when I was pregnant with both of them. None of it was malicious. It was just simple curiosity. Anyone who took high school human anatomy and physiology knows how fun it can be to mix genetics to see what you come up with. What are they called? Punnett squares? Punnett squares? I can't remember the name of it, but you can basically sit there and you can map out genetics of, like, hey, we have a mom with green eyes and we have a dad with blue eyes and curly hair, and what are the kids going to look like? People do this all the time. The fact that Meghan tried to make it seem like there was Jim Crow happening at Kensington Palace because they speculated about what her baby might look like that just takes the cake. As of late, Meghan has also been working overtime to convince us that she is at risk due to racism. Now, this is not because of claims that she has made, rather claims that I have heard Harry making. And also that Meghan is a devoted mother and friend, and that she runs a great company over at Archwell where she serves these amazing lunches and they go out for karaoke nights. Here's the part that Harry and Meghan are banking on that I wish that more of the public would become hip to. They think y'all are dumb. They have to. That's the only way that I can logically explain why they would try to sell us a near catastrophic car chase happening in New York City. And Ibble Dibble, one of my favorite channels here on YouTube, has a really great breakdown of why a catastrophic car chase through New York City couldn't have happened. And she breaks down the locations, the map, the route that they were driving that night, and also the interview with the taxi cab driver who claimed that there was nothing near catastrophic happening when Harry and Meghan were in his car. Meghan tried to sell her audience on a really piss poor podcast show. So in June of 2023, the head of podcast innovation and monetization, Bill Simmons at Spotify, called them effing grifters. And I mean, it was a huge soundbite for everybody. We all kind of kikied at it and laughed. But there was a whole lot that he was saying in that one line. So when you listen to episodes of Archetypes, what you will find is that most of the content that you're hearing, it's chopped up. It's not like Meghan is sitting in a room with someone and interviewing them and having a conversation that is being recorded in real time. Rather, she has prepared her questions ahead of time, asked them into the microphone, and then they record the answer from the other person who's being interviewed either at their home or they are recording this themselves, and then they'll send the answers back over to the podcast production team. But that's how most of the episodes of Archetypes came together. And you can notice this specifically on episodes with Sophia Trudeau, Issa Rae, and also Margaret Cho. The conversation is choppy. It doesn't sound like two people who are just conversing back and forth. Rather, it is an asynchronous conversation that's happening. And it's been said that Meghan did show up for the interviews for the bigger name people, such as Mariah Carey or Paris Hilton. Those people she showed up for and did the interviews in person. But even those were very specifically curated. There wasn't a whole lot of going outside of the box or outside of the margins that Meghan had specified for her guests. And so the conversations don't really go to the places that they could have gone if she would have just removed a lot of the restrictions, the barriers, the red tape that keeps people from talking freely. And this was done over an almost 2-year period, because if you recall, Megxit happened in the beginning of 2020. Soon after Megxit was when the deal with Spotify was announced, and they started building the studio onto their home so that Meghan and Harry could record their podcast content right there at their home in Montecito. For any other regular Joe Schmo like me or you, if we took 2 years to turn in one barely passable season of patched together content, we would be fired. We would not get the entirety of our payout for that term, for the contract that we were supposed to satisfy. Like, there's no way that would ever fly. But Meghan and Harry thought that it could. And they thought that their audiences should be okay with that. You should be satiated with the content that they gave you on Archetypes, even though it's very watered down, mid at best. Also, part of the reason why they didn't get the full payout for that Spotify deal was that Harry was supposed to have a show too. I really hope that we do get that drunken explanation as to what happened on that Zoom call between, I think it was Bill Simmons and Harry, where he was pitching ideas for podcasts. This is where he said he wanted to host a podcast where he talked to people like Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump about their childhood trauma. What it sounds like is that they went around the table back and forth, trying to figure out how is it that we can get content from these two people to satisfy the deal that we have with them. And ultimately it came down to, well, we can't. These two people are so boring and they can't come up with anything creative. Nobody wants to hear from them. If you were to listen to the Archetypes podcast now, you will see that it's been branded with the Lemonada logo because it's now being hosted by Lemonada. I don't think there are any new episodes coming with this show. I think that the move to Lemonada was just another PR grab, another way to get their names into the headlines, no matter what the headline is, no matter how piss poor it is. And again, these little minuscule breadcrumbs, these are things that they are offering to their supporters and followers because they figure that's enough. They don't need anything else. Substantive conversation, actual interviews with people, real storytelling? Go somewhere else for that. Also, American Riviera Orchard. Again, just another PR swell to get buzz around their names, followed by absolutely nothing of substance. But basically, I guess Meghan's launching a lifestyle brand now. My friend and I, don't hate me, but my friend and I signed up for their mailing list together just because we wanted to see what are these products going to be about, and we wanted to do some actual product testing and reviews. Did you know that if we go onto that website right now, there are still no products available for purchase? And I don't think we've gotten anything via email either about updates, about when these things are going to be dropping, none of it. But again, I think that's something that they fed to the public because they thought, okay, let's make it look like we're busy. Let's give our supporters a little something to hold on to. But then that's the end of it. And about American Riviera Orchard, I do have to question the claims that Meghan is growing all of the fruits and vegetables that are being used for her jams in her garden. As somebody who grew up in Southern California, I'm very familiar with water rationing and droughts. And Southern California, try as it might, it cycles in and out of droughts all the time. We see stories of people flying drones over celebrity neighborhoods to then rat out the people who are using water to water their lawns and make their lawns look lush and green, while the rest of people are using rocks and stones and stuff because, again, there's water rationing, there's a drought happening in Southern California. If it's not happening right now, trust and believe it'll be happening again soon. They get like monsoon rains every 5 years or so, and then people declare that the drought is over. It always comes back, okay? SoCal is a freaking desert, and we can't argue about that. It just is what it is. So I just have to question, like, how were you able to water your garden sufficiently enough to grow enough strawberries to make however many batches of jam she had? It was like 40, wasn't it? She had a limited run of raspberry jam too. Again, I don't think you were growing the produce that went into that, simply because if you were, we would have heard about it by now because you would have been taking up a lot of water. A more insidious development in the Harry and Meghan saga is the fact that they are still trying to fight this fight of theirs behind the scenes, and that is in the form of silencing people who are critical of them. And again, I want to make mention of Ibble Dibble's channel, a channel that was demonetized simply because she made content that was critical of Harry and Meghan. After fighting 2 demonetization rounds, Ibble Dibble has also faced a lot of onslaught from comment and bot farms hired by Harry and Meghan to spam her comment sections with all sorts of nonsense. So some of the comments might be legit comments that are criticizing, attacking the content of the video. Many more of the comments, though, are just random people's names. You'll see a series of names in a comment, and what this does is it legitimizes the account, so it looks like they've had real engagement on real YouTube channels over the course of a couple of weeks, so that the platform, YouTube, does not catch on to the fact that, hey, this might be a bot account. They seem to be doing bot-like behavior. It also is a plant in the comment section of the video that they leave this under, because then whoever is controlling that account can go back to those comments and edit them into something else. And so in this way, you can create just really massively inflammatory messaging against people in comment sections, against channels, but it can also be used to create the perception that someone has purchased followers for themselves, purchased subscribers for themselves, and so therefore they should just be discredited and not listened to. Last but certainly not least, I do also want to make mention of the translator who was scapegoated in the whole Endgame book debacle with this name of this royal racist. What's important to note is that Meghan and Harry did not ever release a statement negating what had happened in that whole ordeal. So Endgame hits shelves, the name of this person is written in print into this book, the public gets a hold of it and says, oh my gosh, they're naming this person in this book. Backlash ensues. Oh no, that name wasn't supposed to appear there. Omid Scobie gets involved in the mix and says that, that name should have been edited out. There was no reason for that name to still be there because we took it out. It was supposed to be in an earlier draft, but we decided to go away from it. There's plenty that we can say about the monarchy that's bad. You don't have to make up anything about them, okay? There are actual people in the world whose lives have been negatively impacted by the ignorance of racism. I think that it is an absolute slap in their faces when Harry and Meghan go off about how they somehow had to face unimaginable racism by being cushy royals living in a palace. One comment that I saw that Harry made on his ITV interview about why it wasn't safe for Meghan and the kids to return to the UK was that someone could run up and throw acid on them, and that would be bad. And to Harry and Meghan, I ask the question, why? Why would anybody care to run up and throw acid on you two? Are you the richest people in the world? Have you invented or innovated something that has made the world a better place? Are you parents to future monarchs? Do you control a country? Do you control a military? Then why the hell would anybody care to throw acid on you? Oh wait, I know why. Because you guys are both reckless individuals who throw people under the bus and don't care who you hurt. Manipulating your celebrity contacts and exploiting them for as much as you could get from them and then tossing them aside when you deemed that they weren't worthy. All of the celebrity rumors and lies that you throw on other people's names, people who really didn't mean you any harm, didn't do anything, didn't take anything from you. Those are the reasons why people will run up and throw acid on you, because we can't stand your asses. That's why. When I was a child, I learned that it is not beneficial to make up stories about people that cannot be corroborated, or to tell a lie that can't be substantiated. So if you don't have any proof behind what you're saying, probably shouldn't say it. I learned this when I was in elementary school because I saw the consequences of me saying something that wasn't true and then people looking into that and finding that, hey, you said something that wasn't true. It's clear that Harry and Meghan missed a lot in their childhoods. They missed the part where we all learned that it doesn't really matter what people are saying about you, just focus on what you're doing. People are gonna always talk. We learned the lesson that it's not good to sit around being jealous of people. If somebody has something that you want, figure out a way to go out and get your own version of that rather than sitting and plotting and scheming against this person. Harry and Meghan had to learn these lessons in their 30s and 40s, and that's why they need security to protect them, because at this point, they have not only been dishonest and shady, but they've involved some of the world's oldest institutions in their dishonesty, their shadiness, that they then in turn gallivanted around the globe, spreading through misinformation. Yeah, I totally see why those two people might need some security. Whew, thank you so much for being with me through this video. Like I said, when that next book drops that's part of this deal that Harry and Meghan have, I'll probably cover that too, so make sure that you subscribe so you don't miss that video. Please also be sure to leave a comment below. Let me know what your thoughts have been through this whole ordeal with Harry, Meghan, the back and forth with the royals, Spare, all the PR stuff. What are you thinking about it? Please leave that in a comment, and thank you so much for watching the video. Take care, and I'll be seeing you next time.